This is my recipe for firecrackers, which are simple marijuana edibles. And this recipe is fairly easy and straightforward, so almost anyone can make it. Now the first step in any marijuana edible is to decarboxylate the marijuana. So decarboxylation chemically is just changing the THC acid into THC, which in essence makes it psychoactive. And in simple terms, all this means is that we're going to heat it up. When you smoke it, your lighter is causing the decarboxylation, and a similar thing is happening when you vaporize it. So the first step is to grind your bud, and then to make a small aluminum foil bowl like these pictured here, where you'll put your bud inside of it. And then using some kind of baker's rack, you'll place this aluminum foil bowl on it and cook your bud at 250 degrees for 15 minutes. And once this is finished, we can actually start making the firecracker. So you'll first need a sheet of aluminum foil, and you'll place 2 graham crackers on the inside. And we're essentially going to make a sandwich where you put peanut butter on one side and coconut oil on the other, and then we'll sprinkle our bud into it and stir it up, and then cook this. So like I said, we'll put peanut butter on one side, and then we'll put coconut oil on the other side. And the coconut oil is much easier to spread if it's a solid, so if yours is liquefied, you might want to put it in the refrigerator for a while. And we'll dump the bud into the middle here. But before we stir it, we want to drizzle a little bit of coconut oil in its liquid form so that it soaks the bud. But we want to be careful here not to overdo this, or else you'll get a lot of runoff into the aluminum foil. Now if this happens, it's not a big deal, but you'll definitely want to eat whatever that runoff is, since a lot of the THC and other cannabinoids will get into the oil. We mainly want the bud to be covered in coconut, since coconut is the densest fat you can get, which is what we want for edibles. So the next step is to stir in the bud with a toothpick. And if you don't have a toothpick, you can use a knife or a fork or whatever else works for you. And once you stir it in evenly, then we're going to close the sandwich and wrap the whole thing in aluminum foil. So you'll close in all these sides so that the graham cracker sandwich, or the firecracker, is completely covered. And our final step here is to cook the firecracker 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. And this step will bind your bud with the fat so that your body can digest it. And after it's finished cooking, I usually just freeze it. But this step is really optional. If you prefer to eat it warm, then that works too. And an optional step is that you can drizzle maple syrup on it. And this will make it taste much better, but it doesn't have to be done. In fact, I almost never do this because I prefer it to be sugar-free. Now the last thing we have to talk about before you actually make these is how much to actually use. So let's talk about the dosage. And for simplicity, I'll use what the dispensaries use, which is milligrams of THC. And very roughly, 1 gram of bud is equal to about 200 milligrams of THC. This is extremely variable depending on the quality of the bud, but let's say this is medical grade marijuana. And for a first-time user, it's suggested to start around 5 or 10 milligrams. But for someone who uses it daily, you might be more comfortable starting around 40 milligrams. And as a word of caution, it's always best to start small and work your way up. If you take too much, physically you'll be okay, but mentally it can be very intense and you'll probably not enjoy it. So start on the low side and work your way up from there.